And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 430. So I hope you guys had a great day. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with Society Reviews. And this is going to be his first appearance on the show. He was on the panel shows a long time ago, but he had some life stuff come up, so he ended up just kind of doing his own thing. We have him on every once in a while, but we were never actually in a position to do a one-on-one like this because, well, anytime I wanted to, you were busy. Anytime you wanted to do it, I was busy. That's kind of how this works here in this kind of podcasting world, actually. But we did have time to finally do it today at this moment in time. Also, you guys know what I'm going to say right now. It's Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day. People do kind of consider this a holiday. So if you do, enjoy this holiday, I hope you actually had a good Valentine's Day. I have legit never honestly cared for this. A girl actually did get me something. She actually got me this right here. A girl actually got me this last night. I was like, thank you. But I'm just not I don't really care. Like for Valentine's
Hopefully you're spending this day with someone who is not going to cheat on you in less than 60 days.
I was told on Twitter, women are just saints and angels. They don't lie. They don't cheat. They're just misunderstood, innocent creatures that wouldn't harm a fly, actually.
It's sad that you're saying that in jest, but there are people who legitimately believe that. That's the scary part, because it's like, even not only just like in the secular world, but even in the Christian world too, there's this notion that somehow women are just above sin. They don't do anything bad. It's only the men who are bad. The women are just angels. And if anything, if a woman does anything wrong, it's because she's not, her standards aren't high enough. That's essentially what you hear.
What else I learned about that? No, I'm just adding to your point, is that if they actually do something bad, it was actually secretly always the man's fault, and we mind controlled them and manipulated them into actually doing that. So nothing's ever their fault, and that means they take no accountability, and nothing's ever their fault. So they can't actually learn from anything. It's like, what the fuck? I was talking to Tiny in one of these episodes, that I ended up deleting because it was just awful, because her brain just is absolutely fried on feminist talking points. So apparently men are supposed to absolve all the bullshit of women while not being able to criticize them. It's like, what? How did we get into this point in the world where if a single, how like you and K-Dot would have that back and forth about like, like people would say that like, well, the devil made me do it. And it's like, no, I don't think the devil made you do anything. I think you did that yourself. Because I think what people do is they try to offset it maybe on religion when you're not religious, though. I can understand someone being like, okay, I was a Christian and maybe God spoke to you. If you were a Christian, I would understand that. But a person that's never been to church is going to tell you God or the devil told him to do something. Come on, man. That's bullshit. That's an absolute lies. Man's out here saying, the devil made me stab 5 people. No, you wanted to stab 5 people because apparently you were an atheist before the devil became a thing in your brain. Fucking people are retarded. I swear, I have to live on this planet with morons every day. But before we get to that, so for people who don't know you, that are going to watch this for the first time, how was your life growing up? Because you live in like Atlanta or some shit. Because you're originally from California. You grew up in San Diego. And I've been to San Diego. That shit is huge.
Born and raised in San Diego. I grew up in the North Park area for many years, so that's probably my stomping grounds for the most part. I basically did 2 stints from Atlanta to San Diego. So in 2005, I went to Atlanta, spent 7 years there, came back in 2012 to San Diego, and then basically came back out here literally 3 months before COVID hit. So literally at just the perfect time, I got the hell out of California, and now I'm back here.
So how was your life actually growing up? So how old are you? You're like what, 35 at this point now?
37. But 37. It was pretty
close. Oh, okay. So you're like a DILF at this point now.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, I mean, for the most part,
actually, right?
No, I was born in 88. So yeah.
88. Okay, so like late 80s. Okay.
Yeah, so okay. I mean, mostly all like from the early 90s on, like that's kind of like my time frame of things that I actually remember, right?
Did you have both your mom and dad actually?
Or you just only had just my mom.
Really? Or you were the black? Me too. I never dad either. Just left. I don't know who that motherfucker is.
It's one of those situations where it's like, I don't know the guy, and I don't know what led to him moving away from my mom. Because like I know my mom too, so it's like I can't really put all the blame on him if he just decided that he didn't want to put up. No, it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, whatever happened, it happened. It's years ago.
Right.
I can't hold on to it at this point. I can't be one of those like I can't be like Eminem, who's like 52 years old and still hanging on to the fact that his dad left when he was 14 years old. It's like at some point you got to get over it, little bro.
Yeah, like until people pointed it out to me, it's like, hey, you don't have a dad, dude. Honestly, I went through. I think kids do that in life, unless someone like points it out to you. It really didn't honestly affect us that bad. Now, having a dad would have helped as far as like seeing a male perspective. It would have helped, but it wasn't that bad. It was tough, but you make it through. You know, like we're not drinking.
It's going to be harder than it should be. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like, there hasn't been guys out there who didn't have a dad and became successful as a result of it. I think too many people use that as a crutch and an excuse for their like poor behavior. But I mean, like I said, does it make things more difficult? Certainly it does.
Yeah,
like, it's not impossible to pull through at the end of the way, right?
Yeah.
For me, like, I was always in, neighborhoods that, I mean, I've been to some not so great neighborhoods, but I haven't really truly been in the hood too. Like I'm basically like a step above the hood, but basically a step below what's called a decent neighborhood. So I was one of those in between.
Yeah, that's what we have out here. Like in my area, this is not the hood, but you go into that area literally 5 minutes down the street.
Yeah, you drive literally 10 minutes away from my house, and now you're in some shady waters. Just put it to you that way. So I used to go. True stories. People who remember, like, know the San Diego area know this. I used to live literally less than 5 minutes away from a middle school called Gompers, and Gompers has a notorious reputation of being one of the worst, most notorious crap hole places for kids in the area. So basically, anyone from my neighborhood who was in middle school age went to that school. It got so bad they shut it down because apparently the middle schoolers, keep in mind it's like 6th to 8th grade, were all in gangs, and the gangs start turning on the teachers. So then the teachers refused to come to the school because it was no longer safe for them. So they literally had to ban all neighborhood kids from attending the school and becoming a private independent school in order to keep it running. That's how bad things got.
Oh, ours is bad too. Yep. I know exactly how you feel, man. This shit is crazy because I think a lot of people don't actually know this. If you grew up, there was only like a few acceptable nerd things. Literally, it was Dragon Ball, and that's pretty much it from what I remember. If you told people you like Pokemon, yeah, nowadays it's cool to like Pokemon cards and like Pokemon. No, you told people you like Pokemon, they're gonna not.
I remember Pokemon when the Pokemon trend started. It was like, you always had that one weird kid who had some kind of hookup with like Japanese holographic cards that they didn't even sell in the United States of America. And then for the most part, people would usually like get into fights and try to steal each other's cards and stuff like that, to the point where the school system had to get in and be like, okay, no more cards on this campus because you guys don't know how to handle yourselves. Like at one point they banned NWO shirts because they thought that it was gang related. They had no idea it came from a pro wrestling show. So when they saw people showing up in like black and white and red and black shirts, they thought it was gang related and banned the shirts.
Their school banned Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Why? To make
because kids would get into fights and try to steal them from each other. And then they're also then trying to explain to like some 50-year-old like great generation elder about what a Yu-Gi-Oh card is and why people are punching each other in the face for the Dark Magician.
When he said Battle City rules were serious, he said he didn't take my rarest card. Nah, I gotta beat that motherfucker up. Like what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's crazy because people wouldn't hurt people sometimes. It was like they would oust you. Like if you let people know you like, I don't know, comic books or like Pokemon and that stuff, they wouldn't even talk to you. You were just not allowed to be in the in crowd, actually. So when people say now this so when people say this shit's now accepted, I'm like, it's weird to me. I don't know.
It's weird because I mean, unless it was something that was popular at the time that everyone knew about, like the X-Men series, right? Like everyone knew the X-Men series, everyone knew the theme song. So it's like you can talk about that and be a fan of that, and no one will like blink an eye. You talk about, oh yeah, I read The Siege, but insert comic, like then you get jumped because then it's like, okay, you're a nerd. It's like no man cares.
Harry Potter was the worst one. I'll be honest here. Harry Potter is literally too nerdy for me. If you like Harry Potter, do not admit that. That makes you an FAG.
I will say this as cleanly as I possibly can. I am so glad I have never read a single page of a single Harry Potter
Me
book. I'm
neither.
like the
No, no.
opposite of Floyd Mayweather. I don't read it even though I can read, not because I can't actually read it.
And what black people do, dude, is they try to pronounce Harry would like to. Why are you sounding? Why do black people always do that? They act like a basic sentence is hard to read.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Why are you enunciating the words? Just read.
All I know about Harry Potter is that Hufflepuffs are like literally autistic kids. Ravenclaws are like basically pretentious douchebags, and then you have like the typical good guy school and the bad guy school, and it's like, you guys are both kind of lame. So
I just like that Family Guy joke that Harry gave Hermione Hogwarts. That's it. I was like, all right, okay. Like Harry Potter is like the same with D&D. That's like straight up loser shit. Do not admit that you like that to people because they're gonna think you're a loser. Like there's like nerd stuff and there's like mega loser stuff. Nah, I'm a Chad. I can't do that shit. We
don't do that. We don't do that witchcraft stuff over at our place.
Legit, the only acceptable thing to like was like Dragon Ball, because even the kids that were like gangster, they would draw Dragon Ball characters out. Like I knew they liked it, so it was literally just Dragon Ball that was accepted.
Like this is like way back in the day. This is going back like 26 years now. I used to like record episodes of Dragon Ball. Then I would pause the TV and then kind of trace Dragon Ball characters based on the drawing on the TV. I used to do that like way back in the day with Dragon Ball. That was like back in the whole Toonami phase, and that might have been the last time I actually even watched Cartoon Network was Toonami.
Dude, people used to do that for music. You used to wait for songs to come on the radio just to record them. I'm like, fucking hell, man. I'm glad technology did advance. We don't have to do that anymore. Fuck all that.
So I remember, just real quick, I remember like the old days of like, listening to. So let me explain this to some of you youngin out there who may not have been around.
Back in my day, you can actually say that now. Back in my day,
there was this thing called FM radio, right? And before you had cable and satellite and all this other stuff, the internet, you actually had to listen to music on the radio. So you would turn on to like local radio stations, and if you had these things called cassette tapes, you can actually record the radio on the cassette tape. So I had maybe like 6 or 7 like mixtape cassettes, like back and forth of like old things I would used to record just listening to the radio back in the good old days. But yeah, all of those things are basically obsolete now.
So but before we get into like the other thing I wanted to ask, everyone knows you for having a strong faith in being a Christian. Where does that come from? Have you been going to church ever since you were like really young, or did that come later in your life?
So the way I've told the story is that my entire life, my mom always had a strong faith, and I've always had a belief in God. I was never a full-blown atheist. You know what I mean? Like even when I wasn't actually doing what I was supposed to do, I was never a full-blown atheist. Like even like back when atheism was like super popular on the internet, like in the 2000s and whatnot, where everyone was basically being like a Reddit atheist was like popular, and everyone thought that they were smart and intelligent until people realized just how dumb they truly were. And then even then I never really faltered on it. But it wasn't until I say over the last like 4 years that I actually picked up a book and started reading it and taking it seriously. And one thing that's made it very easy for me is that it's one thing to kind of look at the Bible type like, oh yeah, this all folk tales and stories, because that's how most people look at it. I always relate to how the world is looked at today through the lens of the Bible, and that has completely changed my entire outlook on everything, because now I see everything from false religions to world events to human behaviors to everything that's going on in the world today. You will see it directly traced back like to the T of biblical times and how everything started and everything originated. So it's like, I can't even look at the world from a different lens anymore. And it's a good thing, because if I had been left in my path 5-10 years ago, I'd probably not be in a good position right now.
Especially being black. God knows how that goes.
There's some stories about that we'll talk about, story of Ham and the family and all that good stuff. It wasn't great.
Good Lord, man. So looking back on how you started in that versus now, how's your perspective manifested, at least for this day and age? Because you know how people are basically just like, I think the biggest problem is false prophets. Like the thing in bearing false witness in the Bible is talked about a lot. That's the biggest problem, is that people are claiming to be this thing while they're not actually being said thing. I'll give you as an example. Sophie Rain literally says, even on her Twitter profile, devout Christian. So when you say these things actually have implications for how people are going to view you. She's a devoted Christian, yet sells pictures of her bleached, non-hairy asshole for $9.99. Yes, God, even
I
the
think it
Bible,
was way more than that, but yeah.
God in the Bible literally talks about women are not supposed to cause men to lust. I forgot which was it. Maybe it's like Leviticus or something like that. So
I mean, there's just a few spaces that you can fill out there. Yeah,
it's like you're a devout Christian and you're causing men to lust after you. What?
Yeah. Here's the big problem. This is one of my biggest sticking points here. Is that a lot of people like to use the term Christian, but don't actually know what that term means. They think that being a Christian means, oh, well, I go to church twice a year, or, oh, my dad's a Christian, or my mom's a Christian. So that means that I'm a Christian, right? And they've heard some vague, here's the thing. The only two verses in the Bible that a non-believer knows is that, well, doesn't the Bible say, like, don't judge and don't eat fish? It's like, it says a little bit more than that. There's a little bit more to it.
And even that's not true when people say that. Oh, it doesn't say, it actually doesn't say that either.
It doesn't say that at all, but that's all they know, right? That's the only two verses that they can quote. But yeah, that's what a lot of people think. So they're calling themselves Christians. They have absolutely no concept of what that word actually means. What it means to be a Christian, as plain and simple as I can put it to you, is that it believes that you believe in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. That's what it means to be a Christian. All these other things that you're tackling on this, oh, I go to church, or oh, I wear a cross necklace, or oh, I was raised Catholic, or none of that actually makes you a Christian. None of that actually makes you saved. And a lot of people, overwhelming majority of people, don't understand that. So they just go out in the world calling themselves Christians. But you ask them the first thing about Jesus, they can, well, I'm not that good at scripture, and I can't really memorize all the verses. So you're not actually a Christian. So it's like,
that NPC brain, if factory resets. Hey, can you actually tell me what you mean? Oh, but I haven't gone to church in 2 years, so
I don't know that much about the Bible. I just know that I'm a Christian. Right? How do you know if you're a Christian if you don't even know about the guy who you're claiming to have faith in? It's called Christian. Christ.
Bros
is the first part of that word.
Bros out here folding faster than lawn chairs and parties. Just that. Hey, like when people say, "Oh, well, God loves trans people. God loves gay people," isn't it?
Based on what?
Based on what?
Based on what? Because, like I said, I don't know. I mean, there's literally verses in the Bible that talk about, if a person, cuts off their genitalia, that person should be cast out from society.
Wasn't it one of them? There was one of them where I forgot which one. It was in the Old Testament where how like people say that. Oh, but it was the story where the people were sinning so bad, God just straight up cut them off. Yeah, I mean,
there's a few times that happens. I mean, the infamous story is Sodom and Gomorrah, where basically you had a bunch of sexual degenerates gathered together in one location, and God literally rained rocks from the sky and killed them all.
Remember that one?
literally,
it even proves in the Bible God has his limit. If you do too much, he straight up cut an entire generation of people off because they kept sinning and they kept asking for forgiveness, and it would actually not do it. It would actually listen to anything.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just that when you read those Old Testament stories, there's two great things that I find about the Old Testament. One is that, like I said, you can pretty much find the origin of every evil, wicked behavior that we're still dealing with thousands of years later. And secondly, there's a lot of people who have this mindset. This is another thing people claim to be Christians. And this is kind of a thinking point of like unbelievers. They think that, oh, well, Jesus is different from the God of the Old Testament. So they kind of have this, Jesus is like this happy-go-lucky hippie guy, but the Old Testament God is all mean, and he would destroy the Canaanites. I can't believe he would do that. It's like, it's the same God. Jesus is the same one who destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, who flooded during the time of Noah, flooded the world and whatnot. The same one who confused the language in the Tower of Babel. It's like the Old Testament is literally prophesying the arrival and the kingdom of Christ. It's all one story. So if you think that, oh, well, Jesus is different, then you don't understand the Bible at all. Not one iota.
There's also the thing in the Bible is actually I like a lot of the stories in it. The main one being that is actually, I think, echoed now more than any of them. Women do not listen. They don't listen. They don't take accountability. God told Eve, do not eat from this. You can have all of this. That's simple. Then she gets tricked by Satan because, the snake walking on legs and all the whole story. Everyone knows the story. That proves women don't listen. And that always proves women are always trying to get something more than what they already have. God gave her everything she could ask for. And even she, the first woman to maybe ever live, said, you know what? That's not good enough. I must eat from this forbidden tree. Why? It proves that even from biblical times, nothing is good enough for women. Nothing is good enough for them.
It's twofold, because on one side of it, it shows you the reason why even the Bible says that women are the weaker sex is because as a result of Eve being tricked by Satan, it shows that women are far more susceptible to deception than men are. And so whenever you isolate women and let them in their own space, and feminism and LGBTQ and all that stuff, it kind of shows you how things quickly go downhill, right?
Right.
But to be fair to the women, it also shows the weakness of men, because another problem you'll see in the Old Testament is that men were marrying pagan wives, which means that wives that were worshiping other gods. And because none of them had the balls to actually stand up to their wives, they end up eventually worshiping the same demon gods their wives were worshiping, which means, once again, a society falls apart, God's judgment comes. So it even shows you on one hand that they're more acceptable to deception, and then men, one way or another, will find a way to fold to a woman, and then everything gets worse as a result. So it's like, it's not really a win for either sex in that aspect, though. But yeah, there's a lot of correlation of, like I said, women being deceived, women not taking accountability, women free from this is, like I said, feminism likes to frame themselves as kind of like this liberation from the patriarchy and men and all this other stuff. But every time they get to or achieve freedom, it always leads to degeneracy. 10 out of 10 times, it always leads to that same spot.
There's also the thing in the Bible. I remember what's Cain and Abel. That's in the Bible, right?
Yeah. They're basically the first story of murder.
Yeah. Duality of man. I like that one a lot. I love the Moses story. I do like Prince of Egypt, but I do like the Moses story a lot. I do like Paul's another one. I think Paul is the one a lot of people use to their disadvantage too. But because Paul was a sinner and God used him. It's like, well, it's not exactly the way you guys like to make this out. Like, so if you were a PDF, I'm pretty sure God would not be using you. I don't know. Like, there has to be some limits to God of how much he's a sinner.
So here's the thing, and we'll put it to you this way. If you look at Paul's story, Paul was essentially, he was a Judaizer. He was an old-time Jewish religious person. So a lot of context to kind of like modern-day Jews, where they think that they're religious because they're honoring Yahweh, but they reject Christ. So again, they have this whole thing about, Jesus and who Jesus actually is. But he was a guy who was going around murdering Christians because he thought that Christians were practicing idolatry. He ends up running into Christ. Christ blinds him as a show of that he actually is God. And then he becomes one of the greatest missionaries basically the world's ever seen by preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? So it shows that even a murderer can be redeemed. However, a murderer can only be redeemed by turning to Christ. Here's what a lot of people miss here. It's that people talk about, this person has done this and this person has done that. It's like, okay, but that may be true. At the same time, you have also done a lot of things in your life here too. And I think the problem is that a lot of people think that they are in a position to kind of judge other people's lives because in their minds they're like, I haven't killed anyone, and I haven't stolen anything in a little while.
In a little while.
I lie every now and then, but I'm not that guy over there. He's way worse than me. It's like, because if we list out all the bad things in your life that you've done, you find out, well, guess what? You're not much better than that other guy. Because like I said, if we want to go lie for lie, sin for sin, how many people have you slept with in the course of your life? How many abortions have you had in the course of your life? Those abortions count as murder too, just in case you didn't realize, because you're ending the life of kids in that context, right? How many lies have you told in the course of your life? Have you fully followed God's law? You can find out, hey, guess what? Here's a laundry list of things that you be found guilty of. It can be anything
from the 10 Commandments. Just start with that one.
You can start with the 10 Commandments. This is the big context. Even if you simplify it to the 10 Commandments, you still wouldn't find someone who's actually followed all 10 of those, right? But the law is actually like 614 different laws that not a single person has ever found been perfect on. But that's kind of the whole story of the Bible. The whole story of the Bible is, it's like, yes, you're not a good person. You are a wretched sinner and you need redemption. And the only person who can give you redemption is Christ. But here's the other thing here, because people think that, oh, in order to go to hell, you have to be a bad person. It's like, well, that's not true, because if just being a bad person sends you to hell, guess what? Everyone is going to hell, because no one is a good person. Even the people who think that they're good people are not good people. So in that context, the
Yeah.
only difference between somebody who goes to heaven and someone who goes to hell is the person who went to heaven placed their faith that Jesus Christ paid for their sins and admitted all their sins. And the other one says, nah, I don't need Jesus. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. Okay, good luck with that one, buddy.
Well, because now you're gonna have all these women, these e-girls, turning to Christ after they've slept with like a lot of men and being like, well, God used Paul that way, maybe he can use me in the same way. And it's like, well, I just because the problem now is people when they see that, it's like if someone did bad things like that, it's really hard for the average person to go, why are you preaching to me when you yourself haven't lived like that? That's always going to be the barrier.
Well, here's the first problem. Let's address that, because there is a problem with these women who have really just invaded the church over the course of the last 40 years, and they're all masquerading around as Christians, right? So it's like, this is a woman who rebelled against her family when she was in her teens, and basically from like 15 years old to about 35 did nothing but sleep with countless amount of men, God knows how many sexual encounters and all that. Now they've gotten to a point where they realize that those actions actually have consequences, but they don't want to face the consequences. So they think that becoming a Christian is kind of their get out of jail free card, because in their aspect, it's like, okay, well, I need forgiveness from the world. So if I just claim that I'm a Christian, I can weaponize Christianity against people who don't like me by saying that, well, you have to accept me because Jesus says, forgive everyone of their sins. And they think that they're a saint as a result of that. Here's the problem. Most of these women don't actually feel bad about any of the things that they've done. Here's something that I've noticed from just listening to a lot of women talk. Whenever they come to a point where they at least have to acknowledge their bad behavior, they never take accountability for it. It's always, oh, I was with so-and-so and he was into drugs and alcohol, and I started doing drugs and alcohol because of him, and he was so toxic and he led me down a bad path. And basically they're essentially saying that all of my bad decisions, my bad choices was his fault.
Then
so
what was
I don't
feminism
really
for? Like, wasn't feminism, as I was told, it's supposed to empower women to make their own decisions? What was that whole saying? It was the one that went like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need a man. What happened to that? If you're a strong, independent
You mean all those Destiny Child songs?
Yeah. If you're a strong, independent woman, then you can make your own decisions. And guess what, guys? When you make your own decisions, you can also make bad decisions, and that requires you to encapsulate
accountability.
Engulls in accountability. Like, what's crazy is apparently, even from the dawn of society, all the way up to like, how like it was the 1940s, apparently since like a couple of bad guys beat their wives, that must mean that every guy was bad. It's like, no. Also, keep in mind, when women tell me this, any guy who's ever allegedly beat up his wife, nobody's like that person. That's always been condemned. If that ever was revealed in any context, no one will like that person.
There used to be a time period in our society where if someone had saw, like in public, a man beating a woman, then all the men around there would jump that guy, because it's like, you're not supposed to like beat a woman. But now we've overcorrected that to the degree where you can literally watch a woman beating a man mercifully on the street. No one steps in to stop it. But the second the man finally has enough and defends himself, then all of a sudden everyone comes in, oh, I can't believe you put your hands on that woman. It's like, you just sat there and watched it get beat down for like 3 minutes and did nothing.
And that's the pendulum shift now, because Tiny was just telling me bullshit. I'm like, now you have a pendulum shift, right? So apparently it was all men's fault about what happened with marriage and kids and the nuclear family. Then the pendulum shifts. Now the female gets to be the breadwinner. She gets to be the man of the house. And then women are surprised Pikachu face that men aren't being men. That's what you wanted. You wanted an entire pendulum shift. You know what's crazy, guys? What women always tell me? Have you guys ever noticed the most bitter, disgusting, awful personality women that exist are the ones that were given all this freedom? Apparently, all the freedom that women were given didn't make them happier. They're just single mothers, or they don't have any kids, or they're like 40 years old and they have no options anymore. Apparently, giving women more freedom just makes them more lonely and on a bunch of medication or some shit.
So this is something that I covered over a year ago. I did a 5-week series on the Satanic Panic and the truth behind that. And spoiler alert, if you look at the Epstein stuff, that's what basically Satanic Panic was actually about. But that's a whole other conversation,
Guys,
right?
I'm not in those files, I promise.
Yeah, right. The one guy. But here's the thing. You go all the way back to the 1950s, and people really don't understand this thing called propaganda and programming. If you look at kind of television and movies and so on and so forth, all these shows and all these movies framed the time period of the 1950s as if it was just absolute hell on earth. Like everyone was so miserable. Women were confined to being housewives. They didn't have to work. They were just at home watching television, taking care of the kids, and they made it seem like it was the absolute worst thing in the entire world. There was a movie that we reviewed a number of years ago called "Don't Worry, Darling." It was like Florence Pugh and
I remember that one. It was Harry Styles. Yeah, I remember
Harry
that one.
Styles. Yeah. So the concept of this movie is that Harry Styles is in a relationship with his wife. I guess they were married at the time, but she's a nurse working 60 hours a week, absolutely miserable by her own admission, miserable. She would come home, he would want to be intimate, but he's like, no, I don't want to. I'm so tired, and my life sucks. And it was like, we can't keep living like this. So he decides that he's going to kidnap his wife and put her in a virtual reality where she can be a 1950s housewife where she doesn't have to work. She can just enjoy her life while he literally works behind the scenes to keep the fantasy going. So it's like he's literally taking the initiative to give her the fantasy and working for it as it. And this is, they frame it as if he's the bad guy in this scenario. The problem is that in the same film you're showing it, you're miserable. You're by your own mission. You are miserable. You are working 60 hours a week. You have no time for love life. You have no time for any free will. You're at the hospital at from 5 in the morning to 2 o'clock at night. You get 3 hours of sleep and you go back and do the same thing. By your own admission, you're miserable. But at the same time, the way that it's presented in feminism, this is what you want because now you're empowered. Now you're not condemned to home life. And if you were at home just taking care of the kids and being a housewife and being a homemaker, that would just be the absolute worst. So go back out there and work that 60-hour job that you hate. And it's like, this is the message? And this is the message of this movie?
You know, to add to your point is that what a lot of women who are really retarded don't understand is men are more than happy to do that. You know what's crazy? All these men that apparently these women loathe for making them stay at home and take care of the kids, which is what I would think any ideal woman would want. Mm-hmm. Men are happy with just going out, working on skyscrapers that are like 100 feet tall in the sky, doing construction, sewer work, electrical work, working on your damn internet lines, those giant electrical poles with your internet lines that, you know, to power your, you know, which gives you like the data for your phone. To understand, men are more than happy to do all that stuff because you know what it implies, guys? Men are happy to take on all those responsibilities to protect you. Because what does a girl always say? I want a man who's stronger than me. I want a man who can protect me. Yeah, all that protection comes from me working and paying your damn bills. Mm-hmm. So I find women to just be so disgustingly ungrateful because a lot of women think, oh, he's just having me only do this because he hates me. No, that's to protect you and to give you a great life. Because if that doesn't make you happy, all your bills are paid, the kids are taken care of, you have a marriage. If that doesn't make you happy, then what would then? What would make you happy? Like, I don't understand what is going to make women happy. Because you see the Sarah Stock situation? That guy gave her everything. And she still left him. So if that can't work when you're giving a woman everything, what will work actually? I don't know. I truly couldn't tell you.
Let's address the first point first, then we can get back to Sarah Stock. Yeah. That's a whole other can of worms. So, like I say, it goes back to the whole women being more susceptible to deception than men are, right? So in the 50s, where things were, like I say, if you look at it across the board, they have to paint the 1950s like it's this horrible time period. What was going on in the 50s? The home structure was at its most secure that it was for not just white people, but for black people too. That's another little tidbit that they keep leaving out for you guys. Everyone thinks that, oh yeah, we peaked at the 1960s. No, everything fell apart in the 1960s. We look back at the home structure in the 1950s. That's another conversation. But it's like, they frame this whole thing of like, oh yeah, life was just so much terrible then, so you jump to the 60s. And what did the 60s promote? Sexual promiscuity. Hey, you don't have to be a home wife. You don't have to be a virgin anymore. You can go out there and in the college, in the real world, just go sleep with as many people as you want. Sexual freedom. It's the 60s, baby. Go out there and do as thou wilt, right? And everyone bought into that. So next thing you know, like I said, virgins became much and much harder to find. And there was a little bit of a pushback in the 1980s once people kind of grew up and realized what a terrible mistake they made 20 years earlier, but it was only short lived. You go to the 90s and we're pushing the Overton window even further, even further, and even further. Now we're at a point now where we have mentally deranged men who want to be women because they somehow want to hold the victimhood and sexual promiscuity of women, but they're mentally deranged and now they're going out there and shooting children. And you're like, how did we get to this point? How is it that everything, I hate to break this to you, this didn't start under Obama. This has been going on far, far longer than Barack Obama, right? Yeah. That's when you guys started noticing it, but it's been
all
going
that
on
stuff with marriage,
further than that.
Like with marriage, with abortions, and men and women's dating pools. I've been having these conversations for years. It's not just been because of that time period. That's when people started noticing, like, wait, there's an actual problem here. This has been going on forever.
For the people out there who legitimately believe, and you only believe this because of all the propaganda you consumed over the course of the last 50 years, what makes you think that right now in 2026 that society is actually better than what it was in 1955? What makes you think that things are actually better now than they were in 1955? Please point to me somewhere. Is it the fact that you guys can play violent video games now, or you guys can watch, I don't know, Spider-Man versus Wolverine Part 18 or something like that? It's like, what is actually better? Because like I say, if you look at the home structure, it certainly isn't better. If you look at the unemployment rate, certainly isn't better. Inflation, hey, did you guys know that before 1964, the actual coins of silver and dimes were made out of real silver, which means they were far more valuable than the crap that you have now? People complain about the boomers, like, oh, well, you guys used to buy homes when homes were only $7,000. Yeah, and how much are they now? So it's like, what part of society is actually better right now in 2025 than it was back in the 1950s? Oh, we're more accepting of gay people. Oh yeah, great, because that's been great for society over the last 20 years. I'm so happy that you guys can walk down the street and twerk in front of kids now. Like, what has actually been better? And you can't name something that has fundamentally made our society better over time. It's like we're in a process of societal regeneration. That's really what it comes down to, and no one wants to admit that, because that would have to admit, oh, I guess I was wrong about my dumb progressive beliefs.
Can't admit ever you were wrong. That will be the actual worst thing than actually understanding that my ideals and what I've been actually saying to people was wrong. The other thing I want to bring up into your thing was that it was one of the core beliefs I remember, even way back then, even before the Obama stuff. It was women always talking about, we want to be equal to men. Guys, that's the biggest lie ever told. Women and men conceptually cannot be equal, just for various factors. The main one being the physicality. Any woman that says they're as strong as a man is a lie. That's just a flat out lie. It's actually scientifically, factually impossible, right? So it's this thing. So just look at that notion, right? We are not equal to women, and women are not equal to us. Men do, men do like 95% of things in society that are actually important. What do women do? Beside which is raising kids. That's fantastic. What else you do? So you contribute one or two things. Men are contributing 95% of it. Okay. So first of all, we're not equal because we have different strengths and weaknesses. And this lie that was told to women that you're equal to them. No, we're not. How am I equal to someone that I can just easily beat up with using less than 5% of my strength? Actually, women have gotten beat up by 12-year-old kids. They're like 30.
So what, like I said, the course of the last God knows how much long of feminism and all these lies into the world is that women used to be at home raising the kids, taking care of the home, being the homemaker, whatever the case is. But you decided that that wasn't good enough. You didn't want that. So in the course of the years to come, you decided that you don't want to be essentially the helper of men. You want to be the competitor of men. So you jumped into the workforce to compete for the jobs that men used to hold, right? So now their entire idea of empowerment is competing with men, wanting to be equal to men, and in a lot of cases wanting to be above men, because in their estimation, in order for us to be equal, we have to knock men down in order to level the playing field for women who are down here, right? So that's literally like not only with feminism, but the whole race structure thing. So it's like, the thing that bothers me is that these are the same people who are now complaining about how unhappy they are. I mean, you can go on, these YouTube or TikTok videos, and you'll just find an endless supply of women in their car doing car videos, crying about their lives, crying about how things didn't work out the way that it did. It was because you guys bought the lie hook, line, and sinker. And the reason why it's not getting any better because you haven't even started that step one of accepting the fact that you were lied to. Like, you can't expect things to get better while doubling down on what got you here in the first place.
Yeah,
Like,
what was that thing growing up where people always did this? Instead of just blaming themselves and being like, "Hey, you know what? I messed up. I will take accountability. I will take responsibility, and I'll make this better." It's always easier to just blame someone else. And come on, you said
I look
earlier,
at it like this. Look at it like a quarterback, right? If a quarterback overthrows a wide receiver, you know what the quarterback usually says? Yep, that was on me. That was my fault.
Usually always does.
What these people do is like, that was the wind. The wind threw the ball. You didn't run fast enough. That's the reason why. You should jump for the ball. That was on you.
There's another thing to add to your point, which is bringing up the fact that what some of you mentioned earlier, women are just very easily susceptible. They're just gullible. That's why it's much more easier to get women to be on this side because they honestly they're just the type of sex.
There's a reason.
They're just so gullible. No, I don't think you can fix them.
There's a reason why all of this stuff is conveniently marketed towards women because women are naturally consumers. They just consume everything. They don't really question the things that they're consuming. A perfect example of this, we talked about this, I think just a week ago. You know these Hallmark movies that you guys watch like all the time? It's the same movie over and over again. It's like it's some career woman in her 30s coming back to her hometown for the first time in 20 years. She's still single, surprise. And it just so happens to be that the good-looking guy who's also in his 30s is also single, and they just happen to be together at the same time. Guess who's going to get back together, guys? That's literally porn for women. And there's a massive industry about that because they're all watching that crap. You go to these reality TV shows, The Real Housewives of such and such, or Love and Hip Hop New York, wherever it is. All these
absolutely, that's a new one.
Garbage. The Masked Singer, American Idol, all these absolute garbage tier shows. Who is the target demographic for all these shows? Women. If you go back to the music industry, who is the target demographic outside of homosexuals for Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift and Beyonce and that red-haired nematode woman that everyone's into now? I don't even know what her name is. Sabrina Carpenter. All of these just absolute
Bad Bunny.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm really trying to be nice, not saying what I really want to say, but yeah, Bad Bunny.
I threw Bad Bunny there. You said women. I had to throw Bad Bunny in there. He wears a dress. Come on, guys. No straight man watch the dude in the dress perform. Come on.
There's a lot happening there. But who was the target demographic for all this stuff? Who was the target demographic for Will and Grace and Sex in the City and Destiny's Child and all this stuff, all this crap messaging all gets put back to women because women will consume it and then they will go out and act as little agents of Satan and then essentially, like I said, there's a reason why all this stuff is directed towards them because they know that they're susceptible to accepting all of this nonsense and they buy into the messaging and they buy into the idolatry and they buy into just the absolute garbage. Like there's a reason all of these things are directly pointed to women because men don't easily fall for these traps. They just don't. Men don't care about Swifties or the Bayhive or the Little Monsters. And they don't care about Real Housewives of such and such. The men don't care about this. And they only pretend to care because they have a woman that they're trying to keep happy. And it's like, okay, we'll watch this garbage show so that, you don't think I'm being...
Like when a girl goes with you to watch like an MCU or a DC movie. Guys, women are not that interested. They're only doing it because they have a boyfriend that likes it. That's it. It's just the same thing.
There was literally, I'm not even joking. If you guys know the Super Bowl this year, which was like literally last week, it was the Seahawks and the Patriots. A guy had a room full of women show up to his Super Bowl party. He ended up playing the Super Bowl from 10 years ago with Tom Brady at his Super Bowl party. They didn't figure out until the third quarter that it was for last year's game because they were all there for the halftime show. They didn't care about the game, so no one got smart enough to the fact that they were watching a 10-year-old game at the Super Bowl party until halfway during the game.
Oh, shit. Women
Like,
never change women. Honestly, dude, if women weren't like this, I wouldn't be able to laugh because women aren't actually funny. Have you ever noticed that?
but
They're
it's
not
like,
funny. But
you're
ironically,
watching
women are funny. That's why I laugh.
you're watching Tom Brady on the New England Patriots. Wasn't even his last team before he plays.
I'm not gonna lie. To be completely fair, that was probably a better game to watch than the one that we watched. Because the one that we watched was horrible.
Fair enough.
Garbage.
Yeah, that game was not great. It was not great.
There is a saying. I think it was an old saying back in my day. It's easier to trick someone than it is to convince someone that they have been tricked. If you actually don't know what that means, you can honestly tell someone they've been duped. They honestly will not believe it. You can show them facts too.
That's literally called pride. That's you being too proud to admit that you were lied to. That's essentially what it is. It's like you could show them a 60-point PowerPoint presentation proving without a shadow of a doubt you were lied to. They still won't accept it because their pride will not allow them to believe that. Wait, I'm not the smartest person in the room.
And a woman at that. Yeah, a woman being the smartest person in the room. Nope, can't believe that. I'm not even going to attempt that. It's also another thing where a woman thinks that having an equal opportunity means being equal to a man. It's like, no. Opportunities are different than you wanting the same kind of, let's say, rights that men have. That's a whole different structure. Like, if you yourself didn't earn any of that, why should you have the same opportunities as someone else did? That doesn't make any sense.
You also have to remember, too, that that's been a new progressive talking point over the last few years, that they no longer want equality. They want equity. And equity means basically that you guarantee the outcome, right? Because equality basically means you're equal in the opportunity, but they don't want the opportunity. They want the outcome because the opportunity isn't good enough anymore.
Right.
So it's like they're basically trying to guarantee their success through the state, and it's like that has never worked in the history of never. There are many examples of it not working in ancient times and more modern time, historical time.
It's that one argument people give where they're always like, why don't we have many black people in this field? Well, guys, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe black people just aren't interested in that job. But they think just because they don't see black people there, that there's some secret injustice going on. It's like, no, diversity of outcome is not the same as diversity of opportunity. Those are completely different concepts.
And that comes from the progressive mindset of victimhood, because they're always the victim no matter what, right? So it's like you look at any kind of progressive sector, it's just a collection of people who view themselves as the perma victims of society, whether they're victims based on the fact that they're women, whether they're victims based on the fact that they're black, whether they're women, victims because they're not legal, or they're gay, or they're in some way, shape, or form. And some people are now picking multiple victim cards. It's not good enough to be a victim in one aspect. You got to be like 3 or 4 levels of victim in society now, right? And so when your entire worldview is victim and oppressor, this is the logical step forward for their entire worldview. And this is why we just have a generation of just whiners. This is why they've built this reputation of just being the whiny generation, because they're always complaining about something, and it's always something that the television tells them to be complaining about. It's always like, oh, I hate ICE now. ICE is my enemy. ICE. Oh my God, Trump is back. I can't believe Trump. Oh my God, it's Trump. Oh my God, I can't believe that what Palestine is happening over. Oh my God, I can't believe Ukraine. I'm not angry at the Ukraine. Oh my God, this guy doesn't have a mask. He doesn't have the shot. Like, they're always programmed to be angry about something. And to me, it's like, don't you guys notice patterns at some point? Don't you guys like, wasn't I just mad about this whole thing like 3 months ago? Now I'm getting mad about this. Like, does it feel off? Does it feel weird to you?
And this is one of the reasons why I think people potentially had Charlie Kirk assassinated. He would go and talk to them and actually try to unprogram them from that progressive liberal trash they're hearing. And then, you know what's crazy? The viral moments that he got was because he got them to actually, the switch went off. They go, wait a minute, what I believe makes no sense. Why would I want to abolish the police who would protect us? No shit, Sherlock. Yeah, if you say abolish the police who'd protect people, who would you call right now if your mom was getting robbed? Oh, I would go over there and do it. Yeah, sure you would. You can barely get a job.
If I was to walk up right now and punch you square in the face and then kick you as you are down, who's the first person you're going to call to get me to stop? Who's the first person you're going to call to get me off of you?
And that's why Charlie Kirk was dangerous to these people. He actually got the younger kids to understand, hey, I was lied to. Keep in mind, they would always tell, why are you debating college kids, bro? Well, these kids are supposed to be voting in future elections that might literally make or break our country. Yeah, it's good to talk to them. Why is it bad he's talking to them? Oh, it's because he's unprogramming them. It's like that person, back in the day where they always say, hey, we come to my house, no politics or no religion. No. Politics mean don't talk about politics that I don't agree with. That's what that secretly means. Anytime you hear that, it's bullshit. That's why they had him taken out, because he was actually able to do what a lot of conservatives couldn't do. He was actually able to get the kids to understand, hey, potentially, if you want to think progressive, sure. Understand there's another side to a lot of stuff. It's not just like this is the only thing.
Well, we've seen over the course of the last several years, one of the most effective techniques that the left absolutely hates and despises, it's not, let's have a debate and argue the facts, see who can come up with the best
can't
argument.
Do that. No, not that.
It's not even that. It's just like, just defend what you believe. Why do you believe what you believe? Like, why do you think that men can be women? Like, why do you think that there's more than two genders? Now, like, just defend it. And they get frustrated because the programming tells them that there's more than two genders, but the programming didn't give them the update to explain why there's two genders. So when you ask the question, they just get unreasonably upset. And it's like, oh, you can't actually defend what you believe. You're just regurgitating what you've been told from other people. And then that's the problem.
You know what's the worst one with me when you brought up ICE? Because I stupidly replied to this dumb liberal that I had on my previous podcast for his comic book, and he said some really telling things to me. He said he would have, like it's a common thing for those people to say, no, I would take in that illegal immigrant into my house. They're very nice people. They wouldn't hurt a fly. This is the dumbest logic I've ever heard of people. This actually might be top 5 dumbest things.
They have a word for that now. It's called suicidal empathy. Where it's like you're literally so empathetic to people who literally want you dead. So it's like, you're the person who sees video of like MS-13 gang members, the type of people who like literally like sacrifice children to Satan and then like mark up their bodies and look like demons. And you look at those people like, oh, I can't believe those poor innocent people are being rounded up. Like they're being treated so inhumanely. It's like they're humans, man. Can't we all just get? It's like,
everyone's
why are you
human.
sympathizing with demons? Like why?
Because what they'll do is they say this thing where it's always a lie in history too. Because you talk about back then is something I'll tie it into. They always say illegal immigrants are the nicest people ever. They can do no harm. Okay, guys.
Well, no, they don't even say that because the left has to play dumb with a lot of their arguments. So in order for them to
they're willfully ignorant. Yeah.
In order for them to even defend ICE on any level, they have to pretend like there's no real difference between legal and illegal immigration.
Just that alone. Right. And what I was going to bring up is this notion that how you said the left does it? It's a blanket term for them. Apparently, if you are an illegal immigrant, then that must mean that you are a saint, you're an angel, and you can never do no wrong. Guys, let me ask you this. Think about this in your head, and you try to not think of how people as monoliths. Okay, what race do you know that you've lived through where every single person was good? Let me just spoil it for you. It's never happened. Like back in the day where they always say like, no, the Indians, they lived in harmony before, that one
and they
guy
were eating people.
Yeah. This notion that that it was bad and we all just lived in this utopian level society where no human had a conflict with each other. No human did bad things. We all just sang kumbaya. Guys, I want you to understand. So just because they tell you that illegal immigrants are all very nice people, what makes you believe that? You think all of them are nice? 99.99% of them are nice people, great people who just want the best for you.
Again,
no, that is completely illogical. There's no way I can believe that. That's not a thing. You would have to be legitimately retarded to believe every single person is good. Are you that?
This
stupid?
goes back to the process of everything comes back to victim and oppressor. So in their mind, in their estimation, the only people who have ever done any bad in world history ever is one, the Jews, and secondly, white people from every country in the world.
It has to be
and those are the only ones who have ever done any bad in the world history.
White people to them is like what Joker is to Batman. Quite literally top rogues gallery villain. Nothing else. Because apparently, oh my God, at this point now, white people are just their enemy number one for whatever reason. And then I hate white people on just this aspect. Cuck white dudes are going to go like, man, they're talking all this shit about white people. Yes, yes, master, I believe you. Where is your balls? Where is your conviction? What are you
To
talking
me,
about?
the absolute worst. And you would think that like a liberal SJW white woman is the worst. To me, the people who irk me the most are hick libs, Southern liberals who are basically every stereotype of a redneck, but they're liberal. Those are just the absolute worst. It's like, can you imagine like a Southern hick from like Alabama, but he voted for Kamala Harris? Like that's just like the absolute worst of all worlds.
White liberal women have to be the worst. Like there will be situations where one of them will tell me, "I know how it was like for you growing up and everyone hating you." What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like they'll just tell you these blanket things where they assume just because you're black, then that means all of us had the same experience in life. It's like, what? You know that's actually racist, right? Like your thought process is legitimately racist. You think
I
that
think
every
it
black
was
person you see had the same experience. What?
Sargon of the Cat said it perfectly like a decade ago. It's like you're basically white supremacists with a guilty conscience. Like that's all you guys really are. You believe the same thing that the other guys do, but you actually pretend to feel bad about it. It's like, yeah, they said that we're superior to black people. You say, I'm sorry that we're superior to you. That's literally what you're saying.
The other one, dude, the video in like Vermont or some shit where all the white people got down like this and started like, what was it? They were like asking for forgiveness in a group of next to a group of black people, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I think white people are the most cucked people imaginable. You can't save them. Like white dudes will literally tell you to their face,
I mean, it's hard.
they're like, my best friend's my wife. If you say your best friend's your wife, you're gay. You're gay. I'm sorry.
It's
No,
difficult
Orange,
because
you're
they're
fine.
in their they're in there for their own reason, essentially, right? Because I mean, you have, like I said, you got hick libs and white liberals, and then basically anything that comes out of like Portland and Seattle, and like those people. But then you also have like the black men who absolutely have been trained to worship black women in any metric like whatsoever. And then not only that, but you also got, it's kind of funny how in both scenarios you have a lot of infusion of the LGBTQ who, interesting enough, I did part of my study that I did a while ago, and I have everything up on the site, Society Review, so you can check the notes at any time for any shows that I've worked on. But did you know that the entire LGBTQ movement actually originates from Babylon and the demonic worship of a god called Ishtar, which is a god that is referenced in the Bible in the Old Testament? I'm not even making this up. You can go to secular historical sources that say this. They said that the people who worshipped Ishtar gave her credit for turning men into women and women into men. Her priests were essentially ancient versions of drag queens. They adopted the rainbow. They had celebrations that looked very much like pride parades, like literally to the T. Like every single bullet point of the modern day LGBTQ movement can be traced back to the Babylonian demon god Ishtar. God, one of the three demon gods that God specifically hates the most. Like you have Baal, you have Moloch, Ishtar is the third one, and basically all the sexual degeneracy LGBTQ stuff traces all the way back to her. So it's like now that I look back to that whole situation, it's like, oh yeah, the things that happen in our world makes a lot more sense. And you can see how what I've been saying for a little while now, that if you look back at the whole rise of the LGBTQ over the last 20 to 30 years and how it's been normalized in our society, it may be one of the greatest and most effective psyops in the world.
I think one of the biggest, oh yeah, outside of the feminism one you mentioned earlier, where they actually convince women, no, the husband that's going to work 80 hours a week and paying all your bills so you can stay at home with all your kids. No, he's the bad guy. You secretly want to be the one doing that. What? Because like you said earlier, there's, remember like last year, remember that lady who was in that green dress? She was in like Georgia. It was in like Georgia actually. She was walking down the sidewalk, remember, and she was like, "Where's all the good men at? Why won't they approach me?" Remember that one? Guys,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of girls like her. Women said all men are pigs, all men cheat, and they wonder why men don't want to date women now. You guys made it that way. The pendulum swung to your favor. You wanted it that way.
Here's what it comes
You know,
down
there
to.
was a saying when we were kids. Yeah, you know what it was, guys? You make your bed, you lay in it. That's what you wanted. You wanted all men to be cooked. There you go. Now enjoy your cooked men.
Well, not only that, but it's like, the society as a whole, especially in the last 10 years, especially like post Me Too, has had such a ire against men. A lot of men have kind of stepped back and realized that the game is rigged against them, so they're just deciding not to play it anymore, right? So it's like
Oh
the
yeah.
whole notion of trying to find, like I said, it's 2026, so it's like good luck finding a woman who's a virgin. First of all, because that's like the step one of the things that you're supposed to like.
Add to your point, and if you expect that, if you have standards as a man, and you say, you know what,
Mhm,
I would not like my future wife to be in the fucking town bicycle.
mhm.
How dare you? That sounds so misogynist. But wait a minute.
If you were to say, I just want a woman who hasn't slept with more than
Two
four people
people.
before she's met me, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a four, right? Because even
Four.
then, like you gotta be honest, even four at a certain time period was considered really comically large. But now
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have women bragging about, oh, I'm my body count's in a triple
You know what
digit.
someone said? This is, I think it was a random tweet on Twitter I saw. This is the most proudest generation of whores I've ever seen. That's
Yeah.
true. Like this is the honestly, this is a generation that's proud.
And you know what?
Sophie Rain is proud to sell her bleached asshole for $9.99 on OnlyFans.
We shouldn't be
Crazy.
surprised because, like I said, look at how we've propped up the LGBTQ community in the course of the last 30 years. And all their community is propping up their sexual degeneracy. It's just, the only difference is that theirs is between two men. So now the women who are just so linked like this to the LGBTQ community are now essentially mirroring their behavior. So they're going around parading their sexual degeneracy because their gay best friend does it too, right? Because they're all linked up together in these pride parades. So now they're copying their bad behavior. And then, like I said, if you're just a guy trying to survive and whatever the heck this world's going to become here in the next few months, you're looking around. It's like, okay, they tell me if I want to do things right, I shouldn't sleep around with a bunch of women. I should find a woman who's a virgin, be getting married to her, build a family with her. It's okay. First step one, let me try to find a virgin. Oh, crap. Because they keep telling you all these studies all the time, which I find very, very interesting. It's like, oh, Gen Z is not having sex as much as the other generations before them. And it's like, oh no, men are 25% virgins now. Like they're not having sex. It's like, why is it only the men who are not having sex and not the
Oh,
women?
but oh,
Why is the women, put it to you this way, why is male virginity going up but not female virginity? Why is female virginity going the other way? Like that tells you that there's kind of a problem there in the political linings of men and women at the moment.
But to be fair, to add to your point, I've seen those studies, and the thing is, no one ever seems to ask this: why are men not sleeping with these women?
Mhm.
I wonder because when it was women, when it was swapped the other way, it was the men's fault for not sleeping with all these virgin women. Oh, you can't criticize women because remember the hashtag a long time ago: believe all women. We have to believe all women, apparently. That was another crazy psyop, too. Just believe women as if like they've never lied.
Just believe women in the absence of facts.
Remember Casey Dugert? Remember that one? She quite
Mhm.
literally murdered her 5-year-old kid, stuffed her in
Yeah.
the back of a trunk. Nah, just don't believe all women.
And you know what was? It's sad because 10 years ago, when the whole Me Too thing was blowing up, they were legitimately going around being like, "Why would she lie? Why would she lie?" As if it was like a complex question to like why someone would lie.
Why any human would just lie? Guys, people lie for less. People
Mhm.
lie about what they had for breakfast. You tell me they
Yeah.
wouldn't lie about anything serious? Like
People
what?
will lie about going to McDonald's for lunch because they're too embarrassed that people let them know they went to Popeyes and said people lie over the dumbest things, and you try to make it seem like over something big they wouldn't lie. Like,
No, because it's the same thing I told you earlier when people keep saying, "Oh, illegal immigrants are all these great people and they would never do anything wrong." You would
mhm.
have to believe. You would have to be a legitimate idiot to believe that. You'd actually have to be stupid. Like this blank notion that women just won't lie for what reason? And keep in mind, there's courts documents to prove these women are bad people. The ones who did like murder and all this other bad shit. Remember the
Well,
legendary
even like the
story?
men, think about it like this here too. It's like even the men who do like really bad stuff, and sure, you want to throw the men under the bus. Let's talk about the murderers and the thieves and the woman beaters. It's like you notice women are still attracted to those type of men. Like,
Oh,
here's the thing: like
the
we've
Luigi
gotten so
Manganiello one proves it.
in this culture that like, oh, let me tell you what gives me the ick. You know what doesn't give women the ick? Serial killers, murderers, abusers, right? Because you always hear like, here's the thing. when women talk about what gives them the ick, they're only talking about that because they're not attracted to you whatsoever. That's the reality of the situation,
They're
right?
putting you in the friend zone when they tell you that.
Because if you were to open up a little book to their dating history, you will find out that, a lot of these guys that you guys have been with violated pretty much all of these rules that you've set out for these people. And this is what has kind of led people into this whole conflict with like the red pill community, whatever you want to call them, right? Because they're like, well, wait a second, you made your husband jump through all of these hoops of what he has to do in order to meet your needs or satisfaction, whatever it is, but yet you're going around and sleeping with all these other people on the side who didn't have to do any of those things on those standards that you set up, right? So that kind of leads to the whole Sarah Stock situation where this woman was sleeping with her boss, a boss who everyone kind of openly knows is a gay, drug addicted degenerate, and he's been like that for years. Yet you look around and he's finding a whole bunch of women who sleeps with him time and time again. Like Sarah wasn't the only one. There's a lot of people in that community that all just can't wait to jump on his bones. Now think about this: a guy who's known for having homosexual relationships with other men, being a drug addict, an overall terrible person, an abusive person, yet he got a wife. He has kids. He has a multitude of women around him sleeping with him, knowing that he's married, knowing all of this stuff. He has no problem with women whatsoever. But you're the one who has to do A, B's, do all the way through Z to meet her standards. And you're like, why is that the case?
And I'll tell you guys the reason. Status. A lot of people don't actually get this when I say this to them. Mm-hmm. Women are attracted to man's status. Like you just said, the Elijah guy. I'm pretty sure it was the Elijah guy. He's a popular person with a lot of influence. Guys, what is that? That's status. Women, for some reason, are attracted to a man that has status. Okay, I'll give you this. Look at Flavor Flav. He's definitely not the most attractive guy. Probably one of the ugliest guys on this planet, bar none. But he's filthy rich, which gives him status. That's why people are always telling guys to get rich, because there's no other way to get these girls unless you're rich, though. So girls will always say, oh, I want a nice guy who will just give me all his attention and who's nice, who's caring and loving. There's a guy at your local Starbucks right now who has blue hair and a septum piercing. Go talk to him. He'll give you all his love and attention right now. Do it. Mm-hmm. And he's not getting laid, so he'll take you. But you don't want that. They don't want that because evidenced by their actions, because women don't do this thing. Actions speak louder than words. It was a saying we had back when I was younger. I know this generation doesn't know what the fuck that is, because accountability.
Well, here's the thing too, right? It's always, you go back and you heard it so many times. You ever actually like a woman ask her like in the public interviews, whatever, because what are you looking for in a man? And the first thing she always tells you is like, oh, I want someone who's funny. I want someone who makes me laugh. It's always to do one of two things. One, they don't want to sound as shallow as they actually are. Because they want to give the facade that the average Joe actually has a chance. So that he was like, well, I'm funny. I know that. So if I just be funny, then that would be it. And you come to realize that,
just be funny. And that will get you a girl. Lies you were being told. Just be funny, guys, and I'll just get you laid. No, it's never been true.
Just be confident, man. The reason why you're just not confident, and it's this terrible dating advice that is not only just outdated, but it's like, how detached from reality are you in 2026 to be coming up with these 1972 talking?
I'll give you guys a notion for it. You guys talk about gaming these days. You guys haven't downloaded the newest DLC. You guys are still on the previous fucking patch. I'm on like patch 10.0. People are even telling you bullshit constantly.
And I had to even speak out about this even in the church, where it was like, you got these pastors going out there, and like I said, these are guys that, okay, good for you. You've been married 30, 40 years. Nice, great. No, nothing against that. But they look at these single guys and they think that, oh, you guys are the problems. You're out there playing video games and smoking weed and watching pornography, and that's why you're not dating these awesome women that we have here at the church. So
this
you're
awesome
the ones who need
pool
to
of women
up,
we have who've been ran through like by 20 different guys. Yes, awesome pool. It's great pickings I have. Good Lord, fuck me, man.
So, but that's the thing though. They'll browbeat men all day, right? Saying that, oh, you're lazy, you smoke weed, you play video games, you're in your mom's basement, all this stuff. If you were to stand up and go to a room of women and be like, raise your hand if you're a virgin, all of a sudden everyone turns on you. Everyone turns on you. You're the worst person in the room.
And what I've noticed about all of that, women's preferences are more catered to and apparently liked than men. Because if I go as a preference, I don't want my future partner to have been more with like, I'm just giving them 2 people. I think that's fair
Mhm.
enough. 2 people, right? Oh, you're a misogynist. Wait. I thought it was good for women to have standards. Why can't men have standards? Why can't
And I
I
get
don't
it.
understand it.
And you know, a lot of women hate pearly things on YouTube, and
Oh,
it's like I
I like
get it.
Pearl. I
And
like Pearl
I
though.
get it. She says dumb things occasionally. I'm not gonna say like she's perfect, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I found hilarious still to this day, and people absolutely hate her, is that when she gets to this room with like all these right wing, trad wife, Christian conservative women, and she just stood up one time and she says, "Okay, well, raise your hand if you actually lost your virginity to your husband." And then a single woman in that room could raise their hand, and I was like, "Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the problem,
Yeah,
right?"
I will say Pearl is a necessary evil, even though
Mhm.
sometimes she's completely retarded on a lot of things. I will
Yeah,
say, she is necessary. I like when she does that. Come on, guys, you have to have that. Apparently, both men and women, I'll be fair to this. Apparently, these conservative people just think it's okay for no one to call them out, but then always apparently want to call out the other side. It's like, no.
yeah,
To make sure you're constantly reinventing yourselves and your beliefs, you need to talk about these things. Like that lady Anna Kasparian, all she does
yeah.
is yell. All she does is yell when
Anna is absolutely insufferable as a person, and she's one of these people who, you know,
physically, yeah,
she's people
you
have
don't
tried
buy
to
the
pretend
car
like
you look
all of a
at
sudden,
usually.
yeah, people have tried to pretend like suddenly that, oh, she's base, or oh, she's breaking away from. No, she's not. Here's the reality: she's another one of these liberal women who haven't accepted the reality that all of these things that you're complaining about in society are a direct result of the things you advocated for, right? Like she talked about her guess I'm gonna call it red pill. She's not really conservative or anything like that, but her moment is that when she was in California, where she lives, a blue state, nothing surrounded nothing but liberal progressive Democrats, is that apparently she got sexually molested by a homeless guy who may or may not have, pleasured himself in her vicinity. That's in her words, right? And I'm thinking to yourself, yeah, that's a moment when you look around you and it's like, who are you going to blame for this one? Are you going to blame Republicans for the state of California? Because you can't. They're nowhere near power, anywhere near you live. It's all Democrats. Are you going to claim the patriarchy? Well, in Los Angeles, in LA, the patriarchy is such a. So it's like, it's one of those moments when you look around, there's no one that you can typically blame in this situation. So at some point, you have to be like, is this my fault? Did I do this? But she's tried to pivot on some progressive issues, but ultimately she's still
It's the
exactly
same thing
as
with
liberal as she is.
Brett Cooper recently. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll have a show where I go over this more extensively, but I will say this, and I'll be fair to Brett. You may have
Mm-hmm.
not did anything. You may have had the purest intentions. I will even grant that for this conversation alone. But this notion that she's just this innocent, pure soul, for what reason? Keep in mind,
Yeah.
not to Brett or clavicular. You, the random internet person, you women actually, who've never met her, never talked to her, will never interact with her ever. Apparently, you just assume her character is the purest of everything, and she would never do anything wrong. What is that? That's why women keep getting tricked, because they just obligatorily think that just because she's Brett Cooper, she just won't do bad things. And it's like, what are you talking about? She very clearly could do bad things. Didn't a bunch of you women advocate for Sarah Stock? And look what the hell happened on that one. That's just one. Elon Musk's baby mom, the one that went completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs like 6 months ago. People were advocating for her when she was batting for conservative people. It's like, no, Brett would never do anything bad. This is why women are stupid and will always fail. You guys are just so optimistically empathetic. I can't help you. Come on. She may have not did anything bad. Who knows, obviously. But this notion that we're gonna just wear knee pads for Brett and get on our knees and just lick her hairy fucking coochie. No. What is wrong with you
I don't
people?
know anyone said that, but that's a whole other conversation. But no,
I'm just
look,
pointing out. Like, have you noticed that, dude? They will defend someone they've never met, absolutely as if like they just know that person. These weird
here's the
parasocial
problem
relationships are
with
so
politics,
cringe.
because basically Brett is just a right wing. I don't even know if she's conservative or whatever the case may be.
She never claimed to be, from what I remember, but
But
who
she's
knows?
basically just a popular right wing girl, right? And there's this guys out here that a lot of people haven't smartened up to yet, that just because a girl is conservative, just because she's quote unquote Catholic, like Sarah Stock or whatever the case may be, does not mean that they're in any way, shape, or form fundamentally different from the women on the left. And I will say this: the women on the left, at least they don't try to hide or manipulate or try to, sidestep exactly who they are, right? It's like aggressively liberal women will tell you that they're aggressively liberal, right? What a lot of these women in the right wing sphere have done over the last several years is that they've conformed themselves to an image of a woman that they know that men want, that they know is popular among men. But in reality, they're not that person at all. Like people would have called Sarah Stock like 8 months ago a trad wife conservative, right? It was like, oh, she's all for traditional values. She's a hardcore Catholic. She plays by the, she's married to her husband. Then you find out she's just as degenerate as all the other ones, right? And she isn't the only one. We've had this with Lord Sutter. We've had this with a multitude of women in the circle. Candace Owens is another one that's just come out as a complete absolute loon at this point now. So it's like when it comes to politics,
Isabella Moody. What a
Isabella Moody is another nutcase. But it's like when it comes to politics,
you're trad wife, sir. What the fuck?
Exactly, right? These women are no different than the women on the left. And in all honesty, the sad part is the women on the left may actually be more honest than them at this point.
I was going to grant you this hypothetical. I'll ask you guys this too. What's more better and honest to you? Honest perspective. A woman who's an OnlyFans chick who sells her butthole for $5.99, or the woman that marries a guy only for money? Which one do you think is more honest?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the OnlyFans chick. At least she's actually just being honest with what she's doing for money.
But this is the problem, right? Because now, and this is why so many guys, to be honest with you, have just kind of sidestepped the whole dating rant, because they look around and they see nothing but a series of bad options. So when you have nothing but a series of bad options, you have two choices. You either have to pick out the best of the bad options, and they're all bad, or you just say, screw it, I'm just not going to play this game at all. So those are your two options at this point. So you either have to figure out if an OnlyFans girl with 300 bodies is better than the conservative woman with 30 bodies who's pretending like she's conservative. By the way, she's cheating on you with a married man and aborted his baby maybe at most at 3 times. And that's your alternative to the OnlyFans girl. And you're like, well, if those are the only two options and they're both bad, then I might as well just go with the best of the bad option. So they might just pick the OnlyFans girl because that's all that's available to them at this point. So it's like, this is why everything's so screwed up right now. And the fundamental problem here is not just here in the United States, unfortunately. It's all over the world. South Korea is a perfect example of this. Over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, men have become more and more conservative, which means that they want more traditional things. They want to play things by the book. They want to get married, have kids, and live the traditional home life and all that good stuff. Women, on the other hand, have become more and more liberal and more progressive, which means that they don't want all those things. They fundamentally reject all the things that the men want. So when the men are becoming more and more conservative, the women are becoming more and more progressive, and their ideologies do not mix whatsoever. Because it's like, if you're a conservative Christian man, do you really want to date a liberal woman who one day might decide that your 4-year-old is now a girl? Or maybe one day decides that because your pregnancy is inconvenience to her, that she's going to abort your kid. Or maybe she's going to support some immoral argument or stance or whatever the case may be in several years you're going to be completely opposed to. Is that what you really, really want? Well, if that's your only option, then what do you have to choose from at that point? You can find the woman who basically has just the biggest promiscuous past as the left-wing woman who's pretending to be nice. But as we see here with the Sarah Stock situation, she's only pretending to be nice, and then that bubble's going to burst later on too. So again, you're stuck with a bunch of bad options trying to figure out what's the best one.
Or I'll even ask this too with the Brett Cooper situation. She does know Clavicular's talked about crazy sexual thoughts he's had about her marriage and everything, right? I'm just pointing out, if someone values their marriage and respects their husband, I'm talking about if you like this person, someone who respects you wouldn't honestly do that. I'm just saying, though, if someone doesn't respect you, what's the point of being married to them? So this guy can talk all this shit about her, and she's cool with just shaking hands with this guy and smiling at him. Keep in mind, nothing's wrong with a woman smiling at another guy, guys. I'm not saying that. But it's this ideal of respect she should have for her husband. This guy's talking about inverting her asshole, which doesn't happen during sex. I've had a lot of it, obviously. Look at me, guys.
Yeah, that's totally what happened.
Yeah, so I'm just pointing out all these weird women who play defense for these It's like they live vicariously through these women, these disgusting fat women who sit behind a computer just beating off.
What is the term for the sisterhood? There's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people who have turned. So here's a point where I had a run through with a couple of people. Lila Rose, who's another popular Catholic woman on social media and in the YouTube sphere and whatnot. She's been making rounds, making the argument as a Catholic that men don't need sex. Why? Because, well, Catholic priests go without sex. So if men want to be holy, they should be more like the Catholic priests. It's like, first of all, you're opening a whole can of worms we can talk about here. Do you really want to follow the behaviors of Catholic priests and what they do behind closed doors? Because sure, maybe they're not having sex with women. That does not mean they're not having sex. And that's a big problem in the Catholic Church if you want to talk about that issue. Secondly, you're trying to gaslight men into believing they don't actually need to have sex with their wives, not just random women that you meet at a bar or whatnot. You're trying to advocate and trick men and women into not having sex with their husbands/wives. And that's a big problem. Then you hear her talk about her husband, the man she's currently married to, and she's another woman who didn't get married until she was almost 30 years old. And the way she talks about her husband doesn't seem like he was his first choice. That was like, oh, I just kind of settled with this guy, and now I'm conveniently advocating against having sex with your husband because we really don't need that. It's like there's a lot of red flags there with that woman and that message, and that's the message that's coming out of the right wing sphere. That's not the left wing progressive feminist message, but at the same time, it's now married into each other that you can't really tell them apart now. And whenever you call that out, you get labeled the same thing that the left wing people call it. Oh, you're incel. You hate women. You don't you hate your mother or your sister. So all of a sudden, it's like you sound just exactly the same.
Yeah,
as left
it's
wing
bad
women.
so they claim it's bad to label people while simultaneously out of the other side of their mouth label people.
So if that's the case, if the only real difference here is not even behavior or ideology, is that if you're lucky, the right wing women may have a slightly lower body count than the left wing women, and that's really the only real difference at this point.
And that's if you believe them. That's if you genuinely believe them. Because what's that old saying? If one key can open one lock, but if you use the same key to open 10 locks, it open.
It's not only that, but I mean, if we're being completely honest with you, women will never tell you the real number because there was even a video that went viral this week. It's like the way that women calculate quote unquote bodies. There's certain men that they've slept with that they don't count as a real body, quote unquote, right?
What about their head body count? I heard.
Yeah, right.
I don't count that one. It's like, all right, well, you're just. That's just terrible.
Like, I was only going down on him, man. I wasn't actually having sex with him, so that doesn't count. It's like that actually might be worse. You want to? It's like honestly, it's like exactly right. It's like, do you want to hear? It's like, oh yeah, the woman that I married, back in the day, 30 years ago, she was known for blowing all kinds of dudes. Like, there's still guys who talk about that to this day. It's like, you want me married to that chick?
Yeah, because what women ultimately don't understand, what we're gonna have this conversation is. That woman you're eventually going to pick is a reflection of you. I'll use a very small analogy here. You know when you used to go to your friend's house when you were a kid and their house was dirty? You would think they're dirty. It's just a very common thing. People that you allow around you are going to be a reflection of you. I'm not saying it's guilt by association. I'm not saying even I agree with that. But the woman that you chose, whatever she is going to reflect on you. So if you want that, but well, I wouldn't care if my wife slept with 10 dudes before me. I'm just going to be the 11th and I'm going to be different. It's like, no, she settled for you. That's what happened. And she won't admit that. And girls, that's what happens with girls too. They just want to admit that they're settling for a lower class guy. And all these girls are like, I want a guy who's 6 foot tall, $100K a year and all this bullshit. And it's like, you don't even cook or clean. What are you talking about? You fucking bimbo? What the hell? Oh, God. But, I have to head out of here in a little bit because I got to go do something. But the last few things I'll ask you, man, is the first thing is, do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
Yeah, so here's the things that I'm working on right now. So every Sunday at 3 p.m. I do the Bible Ends over on my YouTube channel. On Tuesday nights we do the Bar Room, which is now exclusive to Rumble because I've just got sick and tired of trying to play the YouTube game where I talk about things where like, I don't like having to use certain words because the YouTube algorithm is not going to like it if you say this. And fine, we'll just take the show off of YouTube then and make it on Rumble. And then currently I'm working on a Digimon Revelation Annihilation series, which is all animated, which is on YouTube right now. I just uploaded episode 7 literally a couple of hours ago. So essentially, it's an independent series that I've created. We have 50 episodes in total. 8 of them are live. So we're about 1/5 of the way there. But I'm posting all of those up there. It's an unapologetic Christian twist on the Digimon series, and it brings multiple universes together into one narrative. So if you guys like Digimon Adventurer, O2, Tamers, Savers, all that good stuff, it's all in there. And now, it gets pretty gritty on mine. Like I said, people die, and they die pretty bad too. So check it out. See if you guys like it. Episode 7 just got uploaded today. Check out the whole thing. That's what we're working on. And then, that's about it.
Oh, and do you have any shout outs to get to anyone in particular? Anything else you want to say before you head out?
No particular shout outs. I don't like most people. I no longer. I'm just kidding.
I just hate all of you secretly.
No, I mean, like I said, all the guys who I hang out with. I mean, obviously, we know Iron Oxide and like those guys. My guys
those are clout chasers. What?
I don't do battling in the comics anymore because I had a falling out with the editor in chief. So, and you're not going to find me there anytime soon.
We'll go into that next time. That's another
that's a whole other hour-long conversation. We'll do a conversation about how Trump systematically broke people.
It's at this point now they only want the Epstein files just so it makes Trump look bad. They don't even care about the victims.
They don't. So this is So the Epstein leaks have been going on now for like 3 straight weeks. Yeah. All of the people who have been saying, "Oh, Trump's only doing this to distract you from the Epstein files," you haven't heard a peep out of them about all the other names that have been released in this whole thing, all the code words, all the beef jerky and the pizza. They haven't said nothing. And they're the ones that have been talking about the last few minutes. Oh, he's only doing this to distract you from Epstein. How come you haven't talked about Epstein in 3 weeks? The files have been out there. Everyone else has talked about it but you. So why did you stop talking about this situation, guy?
Or Jimmy Kimmel. I noticed how liberals went to bat for Jimmy Kimmel, a person they don't watch because the ratings prove it, when he said that all these Democrats and progressives are pretending to like Bad Bunny, who can't even name 5 songs. That's crazy. Why don't you guys call it Jimmy Kimmel for that? Call him wrong for what he's saying. Oh, wait a minute. Now we know the playbook. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. Fucking hell.
Bad Bunny is such a psyop.
I'm
literally, you talk about the textbook definition of an industry plant. That is Bad Bunny.
Sabrina Carpenter. I've never met
another
a
one
person in my life who knows who that chick is or a single song she's made. I don't know a single person. I was like,
Sabrina
wow.
Carpenter is the textbook, model of a white woman who only women in gays like.
So she's a white version of Beyonce?
Yeah.
Good Lord. Well, thank you guys for coming by and checking out this episode of the MSK Show, and we will see you